light rain continues to fall here at Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati. The Reds and the Cardinals wrapping up this 3-game series. And the Reds, of course, are looking for the 3-game sweep over the visiting Redbirds. And a pitching matchup today, perennial Reds killer Chris Carpenter against talented young left-hander Travis Wood. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. Big wins the last couple of days, including yesterday putting the Reds in first in the Central. But now the question again, can they finally chop down Chris Carpenter?
Well, he's been a tough guy to chop down overall, especially if you're a Reds ball club. I mean, there was a time that Chris Carpenter could just throw his glove out onto the mound and seemingly beat the Reds. And he's a guy that's got all the tools. He's got a fastball that he's still throwing in the 90s. And, I mean, in the mid-90s, got a hammer of a curveball, a sinking fastball. But the key for Carpenter now is that his cutter is not quite cutting like it used to, and his control is not right there. He's just not hitting his spots like he normally does. Now, that's not to say he's not going to find it today against the Reds, but this guy can be beaten if you take advantage of the mistakes that he makes.
Travis Wood has had his ups and downs so far this year, but coming off an outstanding start in Houston.
Yeah, you know, when he throws the ball well, it seems to me like he mixes in his changeup a lot more. The bad games he has had, and he's had 3 games in which he's given up 6 runs or more this season. Those games he kind of forces his fastball. You got to use that off-speed pitch. This is a very good fastball hitting team. The Cardinals are going to run out there, so his changeup will be a key for him today.
All righty, when we come back, we'll talk about the Reds' offense. They've gone 5 consecutive games of 10 or more hits. And boy, they are scoring aplenty.
Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Well, the grounds crew racing out around the home plate area to remove the final two covered areas of the field, the home plate area and the pitcher's mound. And apparently we're going to start today's game in a light rain. Reds are hoping to continue their hot-hitting ways here of late, Chris Welsh, second only to the Cardinals in terms of runs scored in the National League.
Well, you got a couple of guys that have hit home runs, and there's Brandon Phillips. Two different types of hitters, though. Brandon Phillips, a real good low ball hitter, and Ramon Hernandez, a really good high fastball hitter. In fact, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm not thinking about throwing Ramon Hernandez a fastball up at all. Reds RBI leaders, there's 4 of them right now, actually 5 if you want to consider the catchers. Phillips, Votto, Bruce, and Stubbs each have at least 20 runs batted in, and then you throw those guys in as well with Ramon Hernandez and Ryan Hanigan. Let's call that the two-heading catching situation we have here in Cincinnati, and combined they have 26. So the Reds are spreading the wealth, they're spreading the run production up and down the lineup. That makes them even more difficult to pitch to.
Well, Brandon Phillips and the Reds trying to make it a 1.5 game lead over St. Louis in the Central. Travis Wood, Chris Carpenter when we return. Farm agents are there when you need them. Find an agent or get a quote at statefarm.com. By your local Ford dealer, Ford, drive one. By the Regional Tourism Network, book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline, whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time. A lot of the fans breaking out the brooms. Reds looking for the 3-game weekend sweep. Let's take a look at Joe Patini's starting lineup today. Ryan Theriot at short, Nick Punto over at third base with Albert Pujols at first. Matt Holliday, the cleanup hitter in left. Lance Berkman in right. Yadier Molina behind the plate. Tyler Green over at second. John Jay in center field in place of Colby Rasmus. And Chris Carpenter on the mound. They'll be facing left-hander Travis Wood.
Well, Travis Wood, one of those young guns the Reds are going to run out there. He's only 24 years old, and he's making his 9th start of the year. He's had some real good games and some real bad games. The bad games have been horrible. He's had 3 starts in which he's given up at least 6 runs or more. But he's coming off a very good outing against the Houston Astros. And when Travis Wood is at his best, as we said in the pregame, Tom, he uses his changeup and his off-speed pitches and kind of sprinkles those in with that fastball of his. And he's a tough guy to center when he uses that changeup properly.
Well, Ryan Theriot digging in from the right side. First pitch high, ball 1. We're underway. It's the second time this year that Wood has gotten together with Chris Carpenter. The second game of that series earlier this year in St. Louis, Travis threw the ball very well against St. Louis. 6 1/3 innings, allowed 3 earned runs in a game the Reds came back to win.
Yeah, that was the only win they had in that series, oddly enough, and it was the one that Carpenter started. Who would have figured?
Travis pitched one game against St. Louis last year in September, and boy, he wore him out on September the 4th, going 7 innings, allowing 5 hits, 1 run. It was an unearned run. So in 2 games against St. Louis in his very young career, those are good numbers. Wood able to recover in time and throws out Terrio. Take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by Ford. It'll be Fred Lewis getting his second start in this series. He started on Friday night, had a couple of hits. Stubbs in center. Jay Bruce back in right field. Roland, Giannis, Phillips, and Votto along the infield. And coming off a 2-home-run game yesterday, again, it's Ramon Hernandez behind the plate. Brian Hannigan still ailing after getting hit on the wrist. Run around the wrist area in the first game of this series. Of course, he left that game in favor of a pinch runner and did not play yesterday. Ball 1 to the third baseman, Nick Punto. A .255 batter with 8 runs batted in. Of course, we talked about it the last couple of days. The Cardinal manager, Tony La Russa, has missed the team's entire road trip as he seeks rest and recovery from an affliction to his face and his right eye known as shingles. Manages second most games all time in Major League history, closing in on 5,000 games. And he's being replaced by his bench coach, Joe Patini. Cardinals began this road trip winning 2 of 3 in Chicago, and they've lost the first 2 games here in Cincinnati. Straightaway center field routine for Stubbs. Now, Chris, let me ask you, you pitched many years in the major leagues. On a day today, you rarely ever see a Major League Baseball game start a game while it's raining, lightly albeit. Naturally, the first question would be, is it hard for the pitcher to get a grip on the baseball?
Well,
just like it's hard for a batter to get a grip on the bat. Would it favor one or the other?
On a day like today, Tom, it favors the pitcher. It's cool here at the ballpark, small ballpark. The ball will not carry like it normally does here at Great American Ballpark. And gripping a baseball is no problem. You're going to get a brand new baseball with every batter up there.
Good movement on that pitch. It ran in on Pujols, and that's clearly been the attack mode for the Reds so far in the first 2 games of this series. They've been pounding Pujols in.
Down and in is the way to go. If you've got a pitch to do that. Now, Johnny Cueto broke out a nice 2-seam fastball yesterday, a sinker that went down and into Pujols, and he had a really hard time getting the ball out of the infield yesterday.
Pujols has 3 hits in the first 2 games of this series. All 3 of them are singles, and one of the 3 an infield hit.
For Travis Wood, though, that same pitch is a cutter, which will stay on the side of the ball a little bit. It'll spin somewhat like a football spiral and go down and into the right-handed hitter.
Paints the outside corner there. So Wood a strike away and out away from a perfect opening frame. Here's a 2-2 on Pujols. Straight away center field, hit hard. But plenty of room out there for Stubbs, and the inning is over. Good start for Wood. Now the Reds square off with Chris Carpenter. Bottom of the first coming up. against Chris Carpenter. Drew Stubbs in center. Paul Janisch again in the 2-hole at short. Joey Votto at first. Brandon Phillips knocked in 3 yesterday. He's in a cleanup spot. Jay Bruce in right with Scott Rowland at third base. And a ladder third of Fred Lewis, Ramon Hernandez, and Travis Wood.
Well, we've talked about it an awful lot. Chris Carpenter, veteran right-hander, making his 9th start of the year. He has really owned the Reds. Prior to the start that he had in St. Louis, April the 23rd, that was against Travis Wood. He had won 10 consecutive starts against the Reds. A couple of complete games, a 1.3 earned run average over that span. Last year, he was a perfect 5-0 against the Reds. Time for the Reds to figure him out.
Well, like a lot of great pitchers, a lot of pitchers, period, even the not so great, they tend to struggle if they struggle at all in the opening inning. And so far this year, that has been the story on Carpenter. His earned run average is nearly 8 in the first inning. His overall numbers are not Chris Carpenter-like. In fact, in his last 3 starts, he has given up a total of 33 base hits. And there you see the numbers. The run totals aren't all that bad when you give up that many hits in a number of innings. I mean, 4 runs, 3 runs. But clearly teams are getting hits aplenty these days against Carpenter. Reds are hoping that trend continues today. Beautiful breaking ball, and Stubbs looks at strike 3. Take a look at St. Louis defensively, presented by Ford. The first start in the series by John Jay, who homered off the bench yesterday. They've been mixing and matching at third and second. It's Punto and Green today. And a battery of Carpenter and Yadier Molina. 1 out for Paul Janisch.
Now that curveball that Chris Carpenter dropped on Drew Stubbs, that's a big pitch for him, the same way that changeup is for Travis Wood. I mean, he locks him up. Stubbs knows immediately, at least after he recognizes it's a curveball, that it's a strike.
Of course, there is very little love lost between the Reds and Chris Carpenter. I mean, Carpenter's dominated. We talked about that, but going all the way back to a couple of years ago in September, when Carpenter complained relentlessly about the balls not being rubbed up properly, or at least not to his liking. And then last year, what with the fight and some of the comments that were made by Carpenter during the fight, when the actual heat of the battle that he made after the game. I mean, Molina gets a lot of the boos, but Carpenter will hear lots of them as well. John Jay waits on the soft liner to center, 2 out.
One of the things that makes Carpenter so difficult to negotiate as a hitter is the fact that he's able to spread the speed of his pitches over about 20 miles an hour. His fastball will go anywhere from 90 to about 94 miles an hour. The curveball that he threw to Drew Stubbs was a 74. So that's a 20-mile-an-hour spread. That's a tough thing for a hitter to figure out.
Carpenter shaking off Yadier Molina 3 times prior to that first pitch. Ball 1 to Joey Votto. 5 home runs, 22 knocked in for Votto, who's 2 of 7 so far in the series, with a double and a run batted in. Of course, the RBI was a game winner on Friday night in the bottom of the 10th inning. Joey has been walked 3 times in this series, twice yesterday intentionally. Two and 2 to Votto, who's already homered once this year in the only game that Carpenter pitched against the Reds back in St. Louis on that Saturday afternoon. Opposite field home run for Votto in St. Louis. And again, the 2-2 to Votto. Opposite field, this time for a base hit.
Well, the Cardinals had shifted Joey around like he was really going to pull the ball. And one thing that makes Votto so difficult to get out is the fact that he does use the entire field. You've got the third baseman over there in the shortstop spot. Despite that, Joey Votto hits it in that area and hits a solid base hit. You see where Terrio's playing right here. That ball will go right over this way.
Of course, with all the bad blood last year between the Cardinals and the Reds, two of the primary participants in all that will now square off. Carpenter against Brandon Phillips. But there were many glowing comments about Brandon Phillips and the way he is playing baseball that came out of that Cardinal locker room after the game yesterday. Fly ball in the right, and that'll end the inning. A hit a man left, end of one, no score at Great American Ballpark. Brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Well, all of these games, 20 games in 20 days that began on Friday night, and boy, there's some heavyweight competition. You know about the Cardinals? Pirates have played well, although stumbling a little bit here of late. Cleveland, the best record in the American League. Philadelphia, the best record in the National League. Atlanta, at least going into play today, 3 games over 500, and then your division rival Milwaukee Brewers. There's a lot going on there, Chris Welsh.
There is a lot going on everywhere, but the focus right here is for Dusty Baker to try to get these Cardinals out of town with a 3-game sweep. That would be so sweet, and really a statement for this ball club that would probably carry them quite a bit, give them the confidence they need.
Travis Wood at a 1-2-3 top of the first inning. So here comes Matt Holliday, Lance Berkman, and Yadier Molina in the second. See, 4 of 9 in a series for Holliday. 3 of those hits, 2 of the RBIs came in the opener. He had perhaps the biggest at bat of the game in the 8th inning yesterday. That's an inning which began. The Reds were in front 5-0 in the game. There's a fly ball into right. Jay Bruce backing up on it, 1 out. They got the 3-run home run by John Jay, then put 2 on. And Holliday came up there representing the go-ahead run, and they got him on a foul out to the catcher. Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy standing by right now for a live in-game chat at foxsportsohio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and safeauto.com. Right now, the closest we have come to having no rainfall whatsoever since we started this game a short while ago. Are they telling me that my dad just caught that foul ball?
No way.
I mean, Bill Seg-Dennison is over there saying he caught the foul ball.
He must not have seen it coming.
Two and one, the count on Lance Berkman. Oh, good change up right there. Two and two to Berkman. In the air, left center field, well hit. But will the ball travel as well today? Yeah, plenty for Berkman. And that is his 11th home run of the year to give St. Louis a 1-0 lead for Berkman, his first hit in the series.
Well, you figure on a day when you're throwing a left-hander out there, you turn Lance Berkman around and make him hit from the right side, by far his inferior side. But if there is such a thing, I guess, with a great player like Berkman. After being fooled and fooled badly on a previous changeup, he gets a fastball right there, low and pretty much center of the plate, and hammers it with that goofy power that he has, and 1-0 Cardinals.
Not only his first hit in a series for Lance Berkman, that's his first hit in a season-high 6 straight starts. He had been 0 for his last 15. This ball is clobbered to right field, and it's 2-0 St. Louis.
Fastball and a fastball up. We've seen Yadier Molina, when he does leave the yard against the Reds, it seems like every time he does, it's opposite field. Whereas Brandon Phillips is public enemy #1 in St. Louis. You may say the same of Yadier Molina here in Cincinnati. Another pitch by Molina. He just takes a high fastball and just goes the other way with it. Really, the only time you see him pull the ball is when the ball's down on the ground. And he rolls over on something down and inside, but he loves to hit the ball the other way, and you give him something up. In this ballpark, they're not going to contain him.
2-0 the count. The breaking ball drops in there to Tyler Green. This one down the left field line, hit hard. And it's up against the wall. 3 straight extra base hits against Travis Wood. Boy, those are 3 straight hard hit balls.
You know, there's got to be a point at which time when they're beginning to hammer you on your fastball, and every one of those fastballs that they have hit in this inning have been up, as you saw. Well, the one that Lance Berkman was down around the lower part of the zone, but certainly not down around the knees. But the Molina home run was up. The Tyler Green double was up. Sometimes it might not be a bad idea to double up on your breaking ball. If you miss with your curveball once, come back and throw it again.
The Reds starting pitching has been so good. You go back 12 days ago when Mike Leake lost in a 10-4 decision against Houston. In the 9 games since, the Reds starters are 6-0 with an ERA of under 2. And that includes a couple of starts where Edinson Volquez really struggled. So that's how good everybody else has been. And of course, all of that beginning upon the return of both Johnny Cueto and in front of him Homer Bailey in the rotation. 1 and 2 on John Jay. John Jay playing in place of Colby Rasmus in center field today, and that pitch way outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes. One out, one on. A pair of solo home runs here in the Cardinals' second to put them in front 2-0, and that ball is swung on and fouled out of play off to the third base side. Chris Carpenter, the pitcher, due up next. Berkman a home run to left center field, and Molina on a fastball right down the can. Hammers one over the wall in right center field. And now Wood has walked left-handed batting John Jay.
Now that's just a serious break in concentration there for Travis Wood. You know, John Jay is in there because they think that he can maybe negotiate a left-hander better than Colby Rasmus. So he's playing center field. Rasmus is left-handed as well. But they put him down the number 8 spot in the order for a reason. I'm not saying it's a gimme because John Jay hit a home run out of here yesterday to tighten that ball game up, a 3-run shot off of Johnny Cueto. But still, you've got to be able to recognize where your outs should be in this Cardinal lineup, and they're not through 3, 4, and 5. Pujols, Holiday, or Berkman. The other guys are the ones you really bear down on. Now you're close to turning the lineup over again.
Well, Brian Price, the Reds pitching coach, out for a word with Travis Wood. 4 straight Cardinals have reached since he got Holiday on a fly ball to right field to begin this inning. Carpenter already squared around a bunt. You see 2 out of 15 as a batter. He has a pair of sacrifices on the year. Now he grips the bat around the handle, and on the first pitch anyway, he takes a hack at it and fouls it away, a strike. Well, again, Carpenter already shortened up on the bat, and again he'll slide the hand back down the bat. Now the right hand slides up the bat, and he lays down the bunt foul. 0-2 to Carpenter. Rain starts to fall harder again. The Cardinals have been raining hits and base runners here in this inning against Travis Wood. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Jose Kendall walking just about all the way to the on-deck circle to figure out what signs he's going to give Chris Carpenter. Of course, the base runners are looking too. He's close enough to whisper it to him.
Slowly hit ball will advance the runners, so just as though Carpenter put down a bunt. Green advances on to third, Jay to second, 2 out. Terrio, he takes up an in ball 1. Terrio bounced out to the pitcher Wood, leading off the game. It'll be a tough play here. Giannis charging. Terrio can run, and he makes a play as Votto tags him out racing by. And the inning is over. A pair of solo home runs to give St. Louis a 2-0 lead. Taylor Henry of Crittenden, Kentucky, who currently owns a 2011 Sienna, will win the beautiful new Tundra on display every day here at Great American Ballpark. You can register for your chance to win it at an upcoming game by seeing your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Well, the rain continues to fall, and the grounds crew continues to work and work and work.
Well, evidently the weathermen say it's going to be like this all day long. So your best chance of getting the game in is just go ahead and play through these conditions, which isn't really all that bad. I mean, the field's been covered. The grass in the outfield is wet, yes, but it certainly doesn't look anywhere near unplayable.
Of course, we'd had a huge crowd for this game today. It's still a very good crowd. I mean, even with the game beginning in the rain. The Reds were expecting another big-time day at the gate here today after a sellout crowd, standing room only, of nearly 42,000 here yesterday. Jay Bruce, nice pickup down there by Albert Pujols, and he'll go to the bag, 1 out. Take a look at our Farmers Insurance report card on Scott Rowland. How about those numbers, Chris, since coming back from the DL?
Well, you talk about being on fire. 5 for 9 with a double. That's only in 2 ball games, too, and both against his former teammates, the St. Louis Cardinals. That one would come right off the list hacking.
Scotty Rowland digging in, and he looks at a strike. Reds have not swept the Cardinals since 2007. You go back to September of that year. Of course, St. Louis beat the Reds 2 out of 3. The only series they've played so far this year, back in April at Busch Stadium. They went to the 3rd and final game to decide the series winner in that 3-game set, with St. Louis winning on a Sunday night. 2-2 to Rowland. Talked about it a great deal on Friday. St. Louis won 12 out of 18 against the Reds a season ago. And coming into this series, it won 14 of the last 21 over the Reds. Pitch got in on Rowland, and a fly ball to Berkman for out number 2.
Pretty good fastball right there, dialing it up at 94 miles an hour. So Carpenter has the velocity when he needs it. I mean, you talked about all the hits that he has given up over his last 3 starts, Tom, and it's not because his stuff isn't there. It's all about his command. Very much reminds you of the way Johnny Cueto pitched yesterday. Found a nice comfort zone anywhere from 90 to 92 miles an hour. Then all of a sudden, Cueto reached back and dial one up there around 96 or 97.
You know, it was interesting hearing the comments made by Bronson Arroyo when he was asked about Chris Carpenter's success against the Reds. And Arroyo made the comment, he said, look, sometimes it's the other team's uniform, sometimes it's their ballpark, sometimes it's a host of other things. Arroyo said, you know, he gets a similar kind of feeling whenever he's going to pitch against the Cubs. Not that he feels like he's for sure going to win the game, but he likes his chances of pitching a good game. And a good start for Carpenter. Side retired in order. End of 2-0 St. Louis.
feed off each other. So far, we played a good series. We're in the same position we were in Chicago for a possible sweep, and so we know we got a tough Carpenter tomorrow. And so we just got to come back, like I said, get some rest. Early game tomorrow, and it's a real big ball game tomorrow.
Our Geico Direct quote coming from Dusty Baker following the win yesterday. The Reds have won 4 consecutive series. And, of course, they're already guaranteed of winning this one, but they're thinking about that third and final game and sweeping the Cardinals out of town to stay atop the division here today. Although at the end of 2, they trailed 2-0. We begin the third. Punto to be followed by Pujols and Holiday. Cardinals got back-to-back solo home runs in the second inning from Lance Berkman and Yadier Molina to post his 2-0 lead. Punto pushes a bunt. Wood, a very good athlete, gets to it quickly. 1 out.
You know, if you're going to lay a bunt down against an athlete like Travis Wood, who finishes in a real good position to field his own position out there, you got to try it down the third base line or the first base line. I mean, I know what Punto is trying to do, which is push it by the pitcher and try to get Brandon Phillips to field that ball. But you've really got to be able to push that ball very hard to do that. Normal bunts will not work when you've got a guy as agile as Travis Wood on the hill.
Can't remember the last time I saw a guy put down a bunt and broke his bat.
Did he do that?
He's walking back to the dugout. 2 pieces of that bat. Pujols pops it up left side of the infield. And Giannis squeezes it tightly for the second out of the inning.
This goes to show you that Nick Punto gets different wood than Albert Pujols. I would imagine that you may want to check the grain on that wood before he takes the next order.
Must have bunted that thing off the very end of the bat, right? For it to break like that?
Oh, I've never seen it.
All right, 2 away from Matt Holliday. He flied out to right, leading off the second inning.
Hey, what's Travis Wood throwing up there? A shot put? Our performance Honda Exmo look at that broken bat attempted bunt by Nick Punto.
Nice play by Rowland to keep it in front of him and throws out Holiday. So a nice bounce back third for Wood. He retires his side in order. For every game with the Emmy Award-winning Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio. If Chris will have CBTS Tech Talk all week, we'll finish up our series with Mark Berry and then learn some strategy with AAA manager Rick Sweet. Reds down 2-0 as they come to bat here in the bottom of the third against Chris Carpenter. Carpenter has not been hung with a loss against the Reds since 2006. Unbelievable. And I'm talking about him getting a loss as a decision, not the Cardinal team. But you know, if you're St. Louis, you've got to wonder. Told you about the 33 hits he's allowed the last 3 games, but let's go back to last year, including his starts this year, and a total of 16 starts dating back to last year. The Cardinals are 4-12 in games started by Chris Carpenter, and he has allowed 5.4 runs per 9 innings. Now, he looks very good today, but the bottom line is, Chris, it's nearly half a season now where Carpenter has been not like Chris Carpenter.
Yeah, and it's really important for the Cardinals to have him step up and be like the Chris Carpenter of old, the Cy Young Award winner. Because, of course, they're missing Wainwright.
And how about Ramon Hernandez? 2 home runs yesterday and an opposite field home run his first time up today. Oh, what an offensive season Ramon Hernandez is off to.
Now, we've talked about it so much, about what a good fastball hitter he is. This is a cutter right there. And Carpenter meant to throw that ball up and away. As it turned out, it's up middle of the plate. Our Exmo shot of a real nice level swing by Ramon Hernandez.
That is now 6 home runs and 15 runs batted in. Through all the haze of the fireworks, here's another look.
You know, when you look at the batting averages the Reds have against Carpenter up and down this lineup, I mean, Ramon Hernandez comes into this ball game hitting a .182 against Carpenter. And he's not alone. There's 2 other guys in the lineup that are hitting lower than him. Like Brandon Phillips at 167, Jay Bruce at 150. Carpenter's going to wait until the smoke blows out of here. He wants his outfielders to be able to watch this next bad boy leave the yard. I say that facetiously now. Don't get upset if you're a Cardinal fan.
I mean, it's not like that Travis Wood is not capable of it.
Yeah.
He clubbed a home run, a 3-run home run already this year. His only hit in 14 at-bats. 1 hopper down to third. 1 out.
Boy, he hung in there on that curveball pretty good. You know, it looks like every time today Carpenter's gone 0-2, he drops that curveball on him. He did that a couple of batters ago with Freddie Lewis and struck him out on the 1-2 count. He did it with Drew Stubbs.
So now back to the top of the order in Stubbs. And it's away, ball 1. Stubbs in 7 consecutive games has been on base at least twice. He was on base 5 times here yesterday. He had 3 hits, a walk, and reached on a fielder's choice. When he got on base on the fielder's choice in that 5th inning, he stole a base. It's bobbled, and he'll never throw him out. All it takes is a slight miscue on routine balls, and you'll never throw Stubbs out.
Well, it looks like a routine ball, and it is a routine ball, but it takes a tough hop right there for Tyler Green. But you know, the Cardinal defense is one part of their ball game, Tom, that is really under a lot of scrutiny. That and their bullpen. That will be given a hit by Drew Stubbs, given the fact that he may have been able to beat that baby out anyway, given a high hop at the very end. They've got 31 errors, this Cardinal defense does. Compare that to 18 of the Reds.
We told you yesterday the Cardinals have allowed the second most unearned runs among all teams in the National League. So when they're making errors, their pitchers are having a hard time pitching around those mistakes.
Yeah, the only team that has more errors than the Cardinals are the Houston Astros.
Giannis will pop up in the foul ground, 2 out in the inning.
And I make that point because you can say almost the same thing about the Astros as the Cardinals, that both of their bullpens are maybe the weakest part of their ball club overall. The Astros have really struggled in the bullpen this year, and so have the Cardinals. And, you know, defense and pitching go so close hand in hand that when one breaks down, the other is going to hurt. And I think that's what's happened here in St. Louis.
Right now, Joey Votto, he singled into left center field. His only time up. You have Stubbs with 13 stolen bases and 14 tries over at first.
Votto is the only batter in the Reds lineup today that has a batting average over 250 against Chris Carpenter. And he comes in dazzling with a 364, a couple of home runs, 6 runs batted in.
Reds on the board against Carpenter here in the 3rd inning. On an opposite field home run by Ramon Hernandez. So it's a 1-run game. Tying run at first. Votto the go-ahead run at the plate. There you see the numbers for Votto against Carpenter, including a couple of home runs. You know, the duo, arguably the best in the National League last year, of Carpenter and Wainwright, what made their season so perplexing after they swept the Reds in that 3-game series to go into first place was that after the Cardinals and the Reds finish up that series, the Reds took off, seemingly winning every night, while the Cardinals couldn't buy a win. And a lot of those games are when they had Carpenter and Adam Wainwright on the mound. That's what we're talking about, dating back to the starts of last year. Those were the games in September when the Cardinals were trying to hang in there and they weren't getting wins from their big 2. Struck out Votto there to end the inning. But a home run by Ramon Hernandez makes it a 1-run game. On schools, retailers, and our military around the world. JTM Food Group. Buy your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by John Deere. Visit your local Cincinnati John Deere dealer this deer season. A little sushi at the ballpark, Chris. My, how times have changed.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I can get my arms around that yet, but I'm willing to give it a try.
They sell that in all those, you know, they really are like walking into a UDF store that they've put in around the ballpark now. It's a beautiful layout. They have them on 2 or 3 different levels of the ballpark.
Should bring some of your coupons over.
I've got a whole pile of them.
I know you do.
That was a gift from my father-in-law. Miss our old buddy Sonny. She ran that store in our little town for the better part of 25 years and just recently retired from United Dairy Farmers. Well, she's a piece of work. We called her Google. She could ask her about anything and she had the answer. There's a base hit by Lance Berkman into center field. Time now for our AT&T trivia question. Chris, you were fired up about this one, being a former Reds left-hander. Who holds a Reds record for most wins by a left-handed pitcher?
Well, you think you may know this one, and the answer is a left-handed pitcher that you'll certainly have heard of.
In fact, the name is still quite prominent in and around the business community in this city.
Now, my first thought was perhaps Joe Nuxhall, maybe. Tom Browning long enough to be in that list, maybe.
If Browning would have stayed healthy, I don't know if he'd have gotten to that number, but he'd have been banging on that door.
He certainly would.
And there's no doubt that Don Gullett, had he stayed healthy and stayed a Red.
Well, yeah, if Don Gullett had simply pitched in a different era, where they would have been able to fix his arm and he would have been able to come back and pitch again. The problem was, back in the day when you blew your shoulder out the way Don did, I mean, they had no medical procedure that would get you back on the field. And we hope you're doing well, Don Gullett. Recovering from recent surgery about a few weeks ago up in Columbus. Probably back down in South Shore watching the game this afternoon.
0-2 on Yadier Molina, who homered on a fastball his last time up. He threw him an 0-2 fastball right there down the can, and Molina all over it, fouling it straight back. That was over again near Marty Brenneman. He already has one catch today on a foul ball.
Yeah, I've never seen him actually try to catch a ball until today. I've seen him dive out of the way a few times, or attempt to dive out of the way.
I'll never get on him for that.
Diving out of the way?
Yep, I won't.
Oh, there was one time in particular, I still look back on it and chuckle like crazy. We're in New York, Shea Stadium. And Roberto Kelly was a member of the Reds at that time, and he had a foul ball that was a laser beam, and Marty dove off his chair in an attempt to get out of the way. He was in the radio booth with Joe, and that ball found him anyway. Gave him a kidney shot, knocked him to the ground, and he couldn't breathe. He was hurting so bad, and of course Joe was laughing so hard he couldn't breathe.
Swung on and missed.
I started laughing.
Taken care of this time.
And that was Father's Day as I remember it, and as it turned out, Roberto Kelly the next day was traded for Deion Sanders. And Marty puffed his chest out and said, "See what happens?
You got to be
when
kidding.
You mess with me."
Really?
That
is a funny story. Not the part about getting one of the kidney, but then the back half of that is. Well, I can see Joe Nuxhall. I can hear him laughing even now. Can't you?
That's all you could hear for about 5 minutes was Joe laughing. There was no play-by-play to be heard at all. He was just looking at his little buddy writhing around on the ground. Well, laughter is the best medicine.
No question about that. Ball went to Tyler Green, who doubled off the left field wall after the back-to-back home runs from Berkman and Molina in the second inning. It's a one-run game with 1 on, 1 out. We're in the fourth. Apparently the Washington Nationals are getting tired of being picked on by the Marlins. That dominant Marlin starting rotation has just completely shut down the Nationals the last couple of games, and Washington batting in the first inning, leading 6-0 today. That Marlin team might be in it for the long haul. That is one dynamic starting rotation with a much improved bullpen. Two and one account on Tyler Green. There's a fastball that runs inside. 3 balls and a strike. Green, a former #1 pick. It's been a number of years ago now. I mean, every team believes, especially in that first round, when they pick the player that comes their way, that's going to be a guy that you can build your franchise around. Hasn't been that way for Green, but he is a valuable member of this club, especially with all the injuries they have had to their infield. Runner goes, and a roller up the third base line is foul. Cardinals right now are playing without half of their infield. Their regular third baseman David Freese, they believe they're going to get him back in July. And Skip Schumacher, their everyday second baseman, on the disabled list. And Berkman running on a 3-2 pitch a moment ago. He's running again, and again it is fouled away. Berkman in the best physical shape he has been in quite some time, a number of years. Said he had to hire a personal trainer to get in better shape for this upcoming year, because for the first time in seemingly forever, he knew when he signed with St. Louis that he would be playing in the outfield, no longer first base. There's a pop-up. This will be a double play. Inning over.
Take that.
Reds down a run. Phillips, Bruce Rowland coming up. 2011 Reds home game you attend this year with a Reds passport, which includes information on every game and stats, a ticket stub holder, home game validation calendar, so much more. Stop by the Reds team shop or ballpark gift shop to purchase your 2011 Reds passport today. All right, Reds coming to bat, trailing 2-1. Brandon Phillips flying out to right, his only time up. Strike one from Chris Carpenter. Reds trying to come back and beat Carpenter, give him a loss for the first time in nearly 5 years. Terrio throws out Phillips to begin the inning, and time to answer now our AT&T trivia question. The winningest left-hander in Reds history, the great Epirixi. 179 wins. Of course, his family still lives here in the area. There's Joe Nuxall, number 2, and there's Tom Browning and Don Gummy. Of course, Johnny Vandermeer threw back-to-back no-hitters, and our good buddy Jim O'Toole. Jim O'Toole has nearly as many children and grandchildren as he has major league wins. There's Epirixi throwing gas back in the day. Well, that's a video, isn't it?
Pitching man looks like it was 30 feet away from home plate.
Sure did.
Oh my gosh.
Jay Bruce, couple of good swings today against Chris Carpenter. He hit a rocket right at Albert Pujols, who made a nice play to get him out in the second, and now a one-out single here in the fourth.
He has had a couple of good swings. Gets a fastball pretty much right down Broadway right there. But he, of all the Reds lineup, players in the Reds lineup today, comes in with the lowest batting average of all against Chris Carpenter, but he's had some of the best swings against Carpenter. He came in batting 150 against a Cardinal right-hander.
Here comes Scott Rowland. He got jammed with a fastball and popped up to shallow right field his first time up today.
You know, Tom, when you've got a bullpen situation the Cardinals do, you obviously want to get in that bullpen as quickly as you can, but it's tough to do that against Chris Carpenter because he pounds the strike zone with so many strikes early in the count. If you go up there, you're looking, all of a sudden you're down 0-1. You look again and you're down 0-2, and now you've got to negotiate his breaking ball or his cutter. It's a tough guy to make him work to throw a high pitch count.
Shallow center field. This ball's going to fall in a hit. And Bruce read it. He's coming to third. Here comes a throw. It gets by. Carpenter is not backing up. And the Reds have tied the game. Carpenter was slow to get over there. And soon as it got by the third baseman, there was no chance. And when it rolled into the camera well there, Rowland will be given third base.
I think Jay Bruce, who did a great job of reading this ball, falling in. See when he starts taking off halfway to second base. I can't say he picked the pocket of the center fielder because a good throw may have had him. But he did pick the pocket of Chris Carpenter, not covering. Getting laid over there, you've got to be set up by the dugout. As a pitcher backing up third base. The Reds catch a break right here as that ball clips Jay Bruce as he goes into third base. You know, backing up over there, that may not have helped him at all anyway, because you would not have stationed yourself as a pitcher backing up in exactly that same spot. Once it was deflected, the ball's going into the dugout.
No RBI for Rowland. It's a single, a throwing error charge to John Jay, allowing Rowland to go to third and Jay Bruce to score. A bouncer is knocked down, but unable to field cleanly is Green, and the Reds have taken a one-run lead in the inning. Fred Lewis with an RBI.
Boy, he has come up big in a very short time that he has been with the Reds. Fred Lewis puts a bat on the ball, drove a big run in yesterday with a single up the middle, and again, that Cardinal defense begins to rear its head. Not an error right there, but a non-play that should have been made. The infield's in for a reason. Cut off the run at the plate. You bobble it, it doesn't happen.
Now Ramon Hernandez. He got the Reds on the board with a leadoff home run to right field in the third inning. How about the last 4 games and 1 at bat for Ramon Hernandez? He is now 9 for 15 with that base hit. 9 hits in his last 15 at bats with 4 home runs, 5 runs batted in, and a 10-game hitting streak.
Well, they just keep throwing him high fastballs, which is a little mysterious to me. I mean, I'm not giving away secrets in the scouting report, but everybody who has watched Ramon Hernandez play throughout any part of his career will tell you he's a good high fastball hitter. But game after game, we've seen pitchers try to challenge him up there. And he is just seeing the ball too big right now.
Now Wood, he hit the ball very hard his first time up. One hopper that was fielded by Punto at third. So here are the Reds taking advantage of sloppy defense by St. Louis. And they have a 1-1 lead against the man who has owned them. I'm not going to say unlike any other, because the man who has dominated them more than anybody, of course, is now with Philadelphia. But all those years in Houston, Roy Oswalt, a 23-3 career record against the Reds.
In fact, Roy Oswalt will be towing the mound against the same Cardinal team in a couple of days. They go back to St. Louis to face Cliff Lee tomorrow, and then Roy Oswalt.
Wood gone swinging, but the Reds get 3 hits, 3 singles, take advantage of an error, and have a 1-run lead. Basement guys, valued at $20,000. Go to foxsportsohio.com and place your bid right now. Through a steady rain at Great American Ballpark, a very good crowd, knowing the rain would be coming down pretty much all day long. And Fred Lewis with a runner at third in a tie game, a bouncing ball to the right side, good enough to plate the go-ahead run. And the Reds lead for the first time today. They played through this kind of weather only about 10 or 15 degrees colder last night in Chicago. Boy, was that an ugly night.
Well, they played through it for 7 innings anyway before they finally brought the tarp on the field and said, take it on in. It looked like an ugly night.
Because of the rain out already today for the Giants and the Cubs, Chicago has changed up its starting rotation. They'll be here tonight to begin a very short 2-game series tomorrow. So Matt Garza will now move from Monday to Tuesday, and tomorrow night the Reds will face for the first time this year Carlos Zambrano. Zambrano off to a better start than certainly he has had in either one of the last 2 years, last season in particular. What you saw there a moment ago, Homer Bailey 2-0 after 2 starts coming off the DL. Will start Monday against Zambrano. Edinson Volquez trying to get untracked. He'll be squaring off with Garza on Tuesday night. It's a very important inning now for Wood. I mean, you know, at least once, maybe twice, if you can get real deep into this game, you're going to have to face the big guys one more time. So you can't be fooling around with guys like John Jay and the opposing pitcher. Jay, the number 8 hitter, walked his first time up.
You know, this is a big game for the Reds, obviously, because if you can win this ball game, you take over first place by a game and a half. They're half a game up right now. But maybe even more important for this win for the Cardinals if they can beat the Reds today. They would leave town with a half-game lead on the Reds. But if they lose this ball game, they're a game and a half back, and they face Cliff Lee and the Phillies tomorrow, and then Roy Oswalt the next day.
Of course, the Reds are a week and a half away from facing 4 of the 5 starters in the Phillies rotation.
That's true. That's why you build up as big a lead as you can before you go through the city of brotherly pitching.
Well, we showed you that calendar. The teams coming up on the Red schedule, and baseball is a funny game. I mean, let's be honest about it. You're not looking down your nose at anybody, especially a franchise coming off nearly a decade of losing years before winning the division last year. But when the schedule came out, you knew before it ever came out that you were going to be playing 2 series against your brethren to the northern part of Ohio, the Cleveland Indians. And I don't think anybody, not even Manny Active, would have believed that here on May the 15th, his Cleveland Indians would have the best record in the American League, not by a little, but by a lot.
Well, now that they have got there, though, they believe in themselves. And that's an important thing for any ball club, but especially a team that no one would predict you would be this good at the beginning of the year.
Oh, it's to Carpenter, and he swings away and fouls it off out of play to the first base side. That is a very odd division, the way it started.
We saw that
complete reversal of what people thought, except for Detroit. Most people thought they'd be hanging.
You're
around.
right about that. I mean, a lot of people are thinking Chicago, Minnesota, maybe Detroit. We saw a lot of Cleveland in spring training. After all, we share the spring training facility with the Indians, and I didn't see it coming. Good for them. More power to them.
No question. And a lot of people were talking about Kansas City in spring training, thinking that would be a club that was going to be considerably better this year. Now, they've lost 2 in a row, but still 1 game over the 500 mark. The team that has had the start that they had and where they are now is Tampa Bay. There's a pop-up. This will be the first out in the inning. The Devil Rays started the year 1-8. They have gone 22-8 since that start. 22-8 to take a firm grip over the slumping Yankees. And the story yesterday about Jorge Posada. Holy Moses, what is going on in the Bronx?
Well, things are falling apart there. Jorge Posada, who was moved to number 9 in the batting order, passed out of the lineup completely.
And I tell you what, I give it up to Brian Cashman, the general manager. In a day and age where managers and general managers will rarely ever call a player out, even when the player is wrong, Brian Cashman is sticking by his story, and he will not relent. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Chris told you that batting 165 is Jorge Posada, who's been a great player there for a long, long time. No debate about that. But after he found out he was batting 9th in the batting order, all of a sudden, an hour before the game, he took himself out of the Yankee lineup. And Brian Cashman said in the meeting before the game, when Posada told Joe Girardi and Brian Cashman he was out of the lineup, he never said anything about having a bad back. And Cashman said, I'm going to tell the press everything that just happened in this meeting. You're the one who created this problem, and you're the one that's going to have to deal with it. That's pretty firm hand right there for a guy that's been a player a long time. Now one ripped into left field by Terrio, so this is going to be anything but an easy inning for Travis Wood.
Well, not only that, with Brian Cashman, Tom, but they evidently, the Yankees have contacted Major League Baseball, the commissioner's office, to see what disciplinary actions are open to the Yankees to take care of the Posadas situation. That just tears a team apart when you've got that kind of business going on inside your clubhouse. But the Yankees have been through that before.
Yes, they have. So now 2-1 for Punto with Pujols standing in the on-deck circle. Travis Wood given his first lead of the game. And had the batter, number 8 hole hitter, leading off. Allowed a single to Jay, retired the pitcher, and now a single allowed to Ryan Terrio. Ball 1 to Punto.
Travis Wood trying to keep that fastball down, trying to get Nick Punto to roll over on it, try to get a double play ball out of here, so you end the inning before Pujols comes to the dish.
Two and one the count with 2 on and only 1 out. And that might be that double play ball he needed. Indeed it is. Text 31826 or visit Reds.com for details. Reds have a 3-2 lead as they send up the top of the order against Chris Carpenter here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And Drew Stubbs to lead things off. Stubbs has struck out looking and had an infield hit in the 3rd. Told you Drew has been on base at least 2 times in 7 consecutive games, and he's trying to get on for a 2nd time in what would be an 8th straight game. Not sure you agree with that call by Tim Welke, the home plate umpire. Carpenter ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Green throws out Stubbs for out number 1.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM Food Group help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results. JTM.
I always listen to that commercial.
That would be Luke Brenneman trying to grab the microphone, stopping by, and he always wants to come up and see Dad and Granddad, especially now that our booths, both the radio and the television booth, have been loaded, and I mean loaded, about 2.5 feet deep worth of UDF ice cream.
Doesn't last long with all these kids coming
No,
through
he
here.
doesn't. Well, Giannis trying to bunt his way on. He's down a strike.
Luke's just like his dad. Puts that ice cream away just about all game long.
There's one big difference. Luke doesn't have a boiler. Luke, take a look right there. They got you on TV. Look, see that screen right there? You eating ice cream all the time.
Handsome young man.
Yes, he is. Thank God, healthy and happy.
Yes, sir. Looks a lot like you, Tom. In fact, we may just start calling Luke Mini-Me. What do you think, Luke?
I don't know. He's learned a lot of very bad habits from his grandpa.
You've got to limit the time you spend.
There's no debate about that. One ball and 2 strikes on Giannis. And we'll do it again. Two hopper down to Pujols, and that's a second out here in the Reds' 5th. Well, the rain continues to ever so lightly fall. I'm not sure it has ever stopped since we started this game on time miraculously at 1:10. What a great job again done by the Reds ground crew. You know, you look all over the heartland of America especially, and of course in the southern part of the United States, everything going on with all the flooding. But when that Cub game was rained out earlier today at Wrigley Field against the Giants, that is the 24th rainout we have had in Major League Baseball already this year. 24. That is triple the number we had at this point a year ago in the major leagues. 1-1 Novato. Broken back by the mound. Right there is Terrio, and Carpenter with a 1-2-3 5th. So we head for the 6th, where the Reds lead the Cardinals. The big fellas coming up, a 3-2 game.
Reds Live. Join us tonight as we put a capper on today's game and set you up with a big series with the Cubs coming up Monday and Tuesday. That's Reds Live post game, brought to you by Kings Honda in the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com.
When are you going to start heading out there in the Fox Sports Ohio condominium? I had heard something about you going out there sometime this summer after Reds wins, when there's such a great crowd hanging around with Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro.
That's a dandy idea, Tom. Problem is, you can't get there from here. I remember last year, I think they tried to send the Cowboy down there and he got lost and couldn't get there on time. Consequently, I'd hate to take that risk. So I'm going to stay right up here in the comfort of our Champion Windows broadcast booth and do our post-game segment right here with you, buddy.
Fair enough.
I am not leaving you here all by yourself.
I appreciate that.
I know you get lonely very easily.
I do. All right, Reds with a 1-run lead, and here come the big hitters, Pujols, Holiday, and Berkman, and a big swing and a miss by Albert. It was flied out to center and popped up to Paul Janisch at short. Travis allowed a couple of runs on a pair of solo home runs back in the second inning. One to Lance Berkman, and the very next batter, Yadier Molina. He's allowed the 2 runs on a total of 6 base hits. He has struck out 1 and walked 1.
Boy, the difference between Albert Pujols now and when he's seeing the ball and really centering the ball in a sweet spot is that he doesn't foul balls off when he's really looking good.
Roland let that ball play him. He waited for that second bounce, and it cost him. And Pujols with a tying run is aboard to begin the inning.
Yeah, Scotty picked up an error yesterday, a rare one, and he looks like he's going to get another one today. A very playable ball. Right off the tip of the glove.
Matt Holliday is flied out to right and grounded out to Roland at third. And there's strike 1. Holliday off to an unbelievable start this year, batting close to 400. Has 5 home runs and 28 runs batted in. Of course, outside of about less than half a year in Oakland when he was traded from Colorado to the A's, Holliday has always been among the elite hitters in the game. Now, some might say at the beginning of his career, a lot of that may have been, playing at mile-high altitude with the Rockies at Coors Field. Well, he hit 350 plus after coming over from the A's to the Cardinals a year and a half ago. And in last year, his first full year with the Redbirds, he knocked in over 100. This guy can hit. Those are dazzling numbers.
Yeah, you're right about that. You can count me among those people that thought that he would take a serious step backwards after he would leave the friendly environs of Coors Field. But I'm a believer now. I mean, the guy's just a flat out a good hitter. Great plate coverage, excellent high ball hitter. You make a mistake and he hit it a long way.
And here is strike 3 called. He wasn't looking for that.
That's a backdoor slider right there, and a real good one by Travis Wood. May have been a cutter, which is very much the same way. Starts outside, comes back, and just clips the outside corner. Boy, you can't draw it up any better.
So 1 out in the inning, and here's Berkman, who homered to deep left center field his first time up, then singled into center field in the 4th inning. Berkman came into this game hitless in 15 consecutive at-bats spanning 6 starts.
I'll tell you what was so impressive about Johnny Cueto yesterday was the way, and you mentioned it, Tom, was the way that he worked through the middle part of this order. I mean, he kept Albert Pujols from hitting the ball into the outfield at all. He gave a rough time to Lance Berkman, and only Halladay had a base hit, and that was kind of a jam shot on a breaking ball. Ended up going for a double, but nonetheless, he really handled this murderer's row part of the order.
Rolen gets to this. There's one, and they will turn it. Oh, they say safe at first base. Well, Rolen went far to his left.
Well, a combination of the ball not getting to the third baseman very fast. Rolen getting it to Phillips. Good turn by Phillips, but a very close play at first base, but they got it right. He is safe. I'll tell you, that was actually a lot closer at first base than I thought it was. I didn't think they had a chance at turning two at all, and that's how quickly Brandon Phillips was able to get that ball and get rid of it.
Right now, Yadier Molina. Molina homered on a fastball up and away from him to right field in the second inning. It was his third home run of the year. And then he struck out swinging in the fourth. This figures to be the final time Wood will face the heart of the order. Here we are in the sixth inning, and Travis is 4 pitches away from 100 in the game. He's trying to take care of Molina and protect this one-run lead, and he's fallen behind 2 balls and no strikes. And now 3-0. If Molina gets a 3-0 fastball, he will swing if it's where he likes it. And he bangs it into left field to hit. So here they are threatening again as they did in the 5th inning. 2 runners on in the 5th, 2 runners on here in the 6th, and Tyler Green coming up. Green doubled off the left field wall back in the second inning. And then with 1 out and Berkman at first on a 3-2 pitch, Berkman running on the pitch. Green fouled out to Joey Votto, and it turned into an inning-ending double play, and now Wood falling behind another Cardinal batter. Was bottom part of the order, particularly 6, 7, and 8. They have created major problems for Travis Wood so far in the game. Molina's homered, has 2 hits in the 6th hole. Green a double and 2 at bats in the 7th spot, and John Jay has not been retired. A walk and a hit in the 8th spot. Fouled away, and Wood ahead now 1-2. I mean, it gives you an idea perhaps of what Travis Wood is all about. This is clearly a day when he doesn't have his best stuff. He's only thrown first pitch strikes to 9 of 25 Cardinal batters. And yet, Chris, he's trying to get through 6 innings and allow only the 2 solo home runs.
Well, you know, it's all about scoreboard, and you can give up as many hits and base on balls and base runners as you can, but if they don't come around to score, it doesn't make any difference. But those pitches that he throws with runners on base, those are the ones that really take it out of your arm. They're the pitches under stress. And you can look up at the board and say, well, he's got 101 pitches right now, but that may equate to more like about 120, given the fact that he's been in stress a lot this ball game.
Green chases that pitch up in the strike zone, but able to foul it away. It remains at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah,
Man,
Travis,
is this a big out.
Travis has tried to get the ball in on Tyler Green. I mean, he made him look bad last time. Got him ball right in on his knuckles, popped him up to a double play at first base. A little bit of a long swing for Green. They're trying to exploit him inside. Going with the changeup. That's a fastball.
On the outside corner, and Wood protects the 1-run lead. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Who could forget this? Last May, one of the rare Cincinnati wins over the Cardinals. And it took a tag play at the plate on a throw from Orlando Cabrera. A great play made by Hernandez. And the tag, and that's the way it ended. Our Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Of course, Orlando Cabrera is now the everyday shortstop of the Indians.
My favorite walk-off, Reds walk-off ever right there. A defensive walk-off. You don't see those every day, I'll tell you what.
The Reds have a 1-1 lead here in the bottom half of the 6th inning. 3 runs, 6 hits against Carpenter. 2 runs, 7 hits against Travis Wood. This figures to be the final inning for Carpenter. Although it would largely depend on obviously how he does here in this inning, but perhaps what the leadoff man does, John Jay, to start the 7th inning.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Tom. You know, if Jay gets on, they may just let Carpenter go ahead, get up there and bunt, and try to sacrifice him over. I don't think that Joe Patini is in any hurry to get into that bullpen. Not with you got your ace of staff on the mound.
In fact, they don't have anybody down there.
Yeah, he's only got 73 pitches. So, I mean, unless something really severe happens in this inning, I got to figure he's in there for a couple more innings anyway. And as you say that, now it looks like the phone's ringing, and they're going to run around and get something going.
1-2 on Brandon Phillips, and a bouncing ball off the glove, ricochets to the second baseman. A throw is not going to be in time, and that'll be an error on Poole. Well, you got to believe the field conditions have something to do with the number of errors we are seeing in the infield here today.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Maybe. I think it happens to be with the short hops. Pujols is normally very good. He's been a Gold Glover. He can backhand it with anybody, but you know, he goes and tries to backhand this ball when really a better way to play that would have been just get your body in front of it, knock it down. If anything else, it's going to fall in front of you, and you're still going to have Carpenter covering the bag. A little bit of a flash, and he ends up with a knee.
And we said with Scott Rowland about how he let the ball play him rather than him play it, and the same could probably said not only trying to pick it up in a backhanded way, but Pujols is able to come in and get it on the high first top.
That's true. I just hate when players begin to do that, when they start backhanding balls when you don't have to, because then next thing you know, you see it in every youth field that you walk around to. You've got to undo it.
1-1 to Jay Bruce. Now, we said Bruce has had a couple of real good swings against Carpenter here today.
And they've been on fastballs, and I've been really surprised with the way the Carpenter's going after him with the fastball. Bruce has got the right side of the infield open, although not quite as much as normally.
Jay hit that rocket one-hopper at Pujols his first time up, and then a single into center field and scored in the 4th inning.
Tyler Green right here. That means that Terrio is going to cover the bag on anything. Ball back to the pitcher, ball to the third baseman. Terrio is your man that's going to have to stay at the bag, and Tyler Green will stay at home right there. They're thinking Bruce is going to pull the ball. And normally when he puts the ball on the ground, he does pull it to the right side.
Favorable hitting count to Jay Bruce at 3 balls and a strike. Is Carpenter going to be forced to throw him that fastball here 3-1?
Boy, best fastball of the day velocity wise anyway for Carpenter. That last one by the scoreboard clock here, 96.
Threw a fastball right by him, right down the can.
He gets a little bit on the side of this ball. Watch this ball move from side to side. Although up in the zone right there, that's a hittable pitch if you can get around in time.
I don't know about you. It's a little bit of a surprise to me here in a 3-2 ball game, and I know it's Yadier Molina back there behind the plate, but on a 3-2 count, they're not starting a runner. Generally, Dusty Baker is an aggressive manager when he has the right guys on base.
And not an especially big lead down there for Brandon Phillips either.
Well, he also knows that Jay Bruce is capable of swinging and missing, and that's what he does for the first out in the inning.
Yeah, after the hard fastball, back-to-back cutters, this one more of a slider. Stays on top of that, puts it in a good spot. Jay just swings right over the top of it. 5 of them for Carpenter.
Now Scott Rowland, he flied out to right field in the second inning, singled and scored in the fourth. Logan Ondrusek is ready in the Cincinnati bullpen. We told you the Cardinals have John Jay, a left-handed batter, the 8-hole hitter, due to lead off the 7th inning. Then Carpenter's spot, and then to Ryan Theriot. Foul ball. Well, you wonder, do they let Travis Wood go out there one more time? Or do they just start a clean inning with Ondrusek?
I think they probably start a clean inning. I mean, after all, Wood has gone over the 100-pitch mark. Made that remark earlier about the number of pitches he's made under stress. You rest your pitcher for a number of reasons. One is that you don't want to have him give it up in a close ball game late in the game. And secondly, you've got a long season ahead of you. You want that young man strong right to the very end.
Field line. Is this going to stay fair? It is. And this is going to bring in Brandon Phillips. And how about Scotty Rowland? The beat goes on. It's bobbled in right by Berkman. And all the way to third goes Rowland. What a huge hit for Scott Rowland to make it a 2-run lead.
Well, you take advantage of opportunities the other team gives you. Brandon Phillips on with an error to Albert Pujols. He comes off first base. That ball right on the chalk line. Down the right field line, and Brandon will come all the way around to score. That gives the Reds a 2-run lead. And with that, Scott Rowland will end up 90 feet away.
Safe at third. Scott Rowland, safe and secure in New York Life. They're going to give Rowland a triple there, even though that ball was bobbled in the right field corner by Berkman. Well, this Cardinal defense, there is no doubt about it. Chris, you brought it up earlier. I mean, they have got some major issues defensively on this team, and many thought they would when the season began.
Well, they thought that this guy would have his problems in right field. Lance Berkman hasn't played right field in many years. And for that reason, they figure, well, so what? He's going to hit enough as a right fielder. How much great defense you need out there. But where they've really suffered is up the middle. There's just no question about that.
There's a bouncing ball to get to the second baseman, and they'll make the play this time. Remember the last time Lewis hit a ground ball to the second baseman, and he bobbled the ball, allowing a run to score. This time a nice play by Tyler Green and a good throw to cut down Rowland.
Well, Green made the same type of play the first night of this series. He reached the ball deep in the hole of shortstop and gunned a runner out at the plate. Here he's playing second base and does the same thing. Yadier Molina trying to get his foot out there so that Rowland only has one little edge of the plate to try to get to, and he never does get to it. That's that left shoulder that's been bothering Scott Rowland so much, coming there trying to tag the bag. That could be kind of a hairy situation if he comes down on that hand or arm the wrong way.
Been another big day for Ramon Hernandez. A home run to right field his first time up. Then a single to left field his last time up. The Cardinals have not retired Ramon Hernandez in this series. 1 for 1 after coming in to replace Hannigan. That was a double on Friday. You know, the 3 hits and 2 home runs yesterday. And they will get him out this time. But the Reds take advantage of the error by Pujols, a triple by Rolen, and a 2-run Cincinnati lead. For all selected pediatric specialties and U.S. News and World Report's 2010 Best Children's Hospitals. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatiHondaDealer.com. And by Wendy's. You know when it's real. Remember when Wendy's had that old slogan, "Where's the beef?"
Yeah. What happened to those commercials? I like that little old lady.
Yeah,
pull up through the drive-through. Well, the beef is on the mound right now for the Reds. Logan on Drusik. 6 feet 8 inches tall. 23 ball games for this often used right-hander, having a good year too.
Of course, with the Cardinals, you have so many of their big bats which are right-handed hitters. Back-to-back with Pujols and Holiday. Berkman a switch hitter, but has always been far more dangerous as a left-handed batter.
A couple of heavyweights here today.
Wow, look at that. Owner Bob Castellini hanging out with a hit king, Peter Edward. It's always great to have Pete around the ballpark. Well, you know, people can get into what happened, and we're not getting into what happened or didn't happen or anything else. The bottom line is, I don't know if there's anybody that makes you smile hanging out and talking to him more than Pete Rose. Gone swinging John Jay.
A main man to the right, Duke Steiner in the picture right there, too.
Yes, it is. He is the son of Rick Steiner.
He is indeed.
Of course, his group, all Walnut Hills graduates and some of the biggest heavyweights in all of Broadway. So Carpenter down 4-2, and he is batting with 1 out in the 7th inning. Well, what does that say about what you think about your bullpen? I mean, you are down 2 runs in the 7th inning.
What it says is this is our best shot, is leaving this guy in the ball game and let the offense rest on someone else's shoulders.
Lotto over near the tarp, and he's got it for the 2nd out of the inning. Cardinals are in a stretch right now, much like the Reds, where they don't have an off day for quite some time. It's not quite as long. Their next off day will be the 26th. And they just had an off day this past Monday before this current road trip began. Chris talked about 2 against Philly, 2 against Houston at home, and then they go on the road on a 9-game, 11-day road trip. 3 against Kansas City, 3 out in San Diego, followed by 3 in Colorado. Two and 2 Ontario.
The Cardinals have played very good baseball, really, after getting off to a little bit of a slow start. In fact, this series loss for the Cardinals, in spite of what happened today, they've lost the series 2 games to whatever. But it's the first series loss they've had since April the 8th, when they played at San Francisco against the Giants. So they pick up a series here, pick up a series there. They've tied 1. 8-0-1 the last 9 series they played.
Yadish, oh my goodness, and that'll end the inning on the pick by Votto on the other side. So Logan Ondrusek with a 1-2-3 7th inning, his first inning out of the bullpen, thanks to the duo of Yadish and Votto. And on Sundays, as we do every Sunday at Great American Ballpark, we stay for the singing of God Bless America.
Women and all our veterans of service, and welcome Corey Hodge as she leads us in the singing of God Bless America.
Office and enjoy lunch with the Reds. Our next Paycor Business Day game. For a special $25 price, you'll get a seat in the all-you-can-eat section thanks to Paycor. That's quite a discount. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. All right, Carpenter on the mound. And Miguel Cairo will come up and bat for Logan Ondrusek. Ondrusek has a 1-2-3 seventh, and Carpenter uncorks that one all the way to the backstop. Of course, Carpenter and Cairo, former teammates for the Cardinals. Reds will bring on Nick Massett for the 8th inning. You know, here the Reds have played, at least at this point in time, most of last year and certainly the early part of this year. Their biggest rival inside the National League Central, and the team that has had the second most success going back to the beginning of last year outside of the Reds in the division, without having loosened Aroldis Chapman in any of the 3 games.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty safe bet, barring extra innings here today, that we will not see Aroldis Chapman pitch in this game.
Now, one of the things that they have tried to do with Aroldis, you know, he's had control problems. In fact, the last couple of outings he's had, he's not retired a batter. But they've gotten him out early before batting practice to work on him in the bullpen a little bit. Brian Price has been down there. Of course, Corky Lopez has been, the bullpen coach has been working with him. Just trying to get that delivery just smoothed out enough so you can find that right arm slot and come back throwing the ball the way he did earlier in the year. I mean, there were a couple of games back-to-back in Milwaukee where we never saw him throw better. And just like that, he lost it.
And there's a walk to Cairo to begin the Reds' 7th inning yesterday. And Aroldis Chapman, to work on some of his mechanics without throwing the baseball, was down there throwing the pigskin around. There's Porky in the middle.
I'm not so sure that would go all that way. That would go about as well as a Chad Ochocinco bull ride.
That didn't last very long, did it? I did not see it.
1.5. Actually, it was more of a slide than it was a ride.
Well, you want it that way if you're going to get up on one of those bulls, right? Here's Drew Stubbs, 1 out of 3. Tell you what, through good, bad, and indifferent for Chad Ochocinco, one thing that can never be said about him is that he does not live life to the fullest. I mean, he's gone out there and tried a lot of things that a lot of folks would say not a chance. 1 ball and 1 strike on Drew Stubbs.
I want to send our condolences out to a family of a very fine Reds fan, the Kohler family. The elder Bill Kohler passed away last night. And I want to send our sympathies and condolences out to his family, Bill Jr. and family, and we're with you.
Thoughts and prayers indeed. That one just ate up Green, and Cairo will advance on to second base. So you can pretty much, well, you say it, take to the bank that Giannis is going to bunt, but then you create the opening for Votto.
I mean, is there something written on the right side of the infield of the Cardinals today that you're not allowed to get in front of the ball? I mean, the way Albert Pujols tried to backhand the ball earlier, now Tyler Green, they're playing that ball like it's a live tarantula coming at him.
He scored a base hit for Drew Stubbs, so making now 8 straight games he's been on base at least twice. Bunt attempt fouled all the way back to the screen by Giannis. Well, Chris, you brought it up yesterday when you asked a hitter in this situation, in this spot in the batting order, to put down a bunt, and Giannis is a pretty safe bet to be able to execute a bunt. If you advance the runners on the sacrifice, then they're going to intentionally walk Votto.
And Votto is the one guy in his lineup that has had any measure of success against Carpenter. Still nobody up and throwing in the bullpen down there in St. Louis. So a relief guy is not an option right here. So what Joe Patini's coming out here to do, he's going to set the defense. He says, all right, this is what they're trying to do. First and second, we're going to try to make them waste an out right here and get that lead runner at third. Cairo's not especially swift as far as a runner. He's about an average, little below average runner. So they're going to put a special play on, probably to have Punto, the third baseman, stay at third, and have Carpenter and the first baseman Pujols charge hard, try to get that tag play. Or not a tag play, but a force play at third base.
Carpenter, a big man, but he's a good athlete.
Yes, he is.
And boy, is he a big guy. And Giannis can't get it down in foul ground, at least for the second stride in the at-bat.
Actually, that was a different play. That was a swing play. They kept Pujols where he was, and they rushed the third baseman and the pitcher straight up the box. You see the shortstop will head this way, and then the third baseman comes in here, and then the pitcher should come right up the chute. The whole idea of that particular play is the shortstop's got to beat the runner to the bag.
Now do you take the bunt off? The Cardinals think he's still up there to lay one down. And he lays it down perfectly. Absolutely beautifully by Giannis.
Boy, under pressure, too. You've got to get that bunt down to get those runners over. And with 2 strikes, you have no margin of error.
Well, they will intentionally walk, as we suspected they would, Joey Votto, and they'll take their chances with Brandon Phillips. Carpenter had not walked about her the entire game until the leadoff man here in the bottom of the 7th inning. He walked the pinch hitter Cairo, allowed a base hit to Stubbs, a bunt by Giannis to advance the runners. And now an intentional walk to Votto will bring Brandon Phillips to the plate. Phillips is flied out to right, grounded out to short, and reached on the big error an inning ago by Pujols and scored on the triple by Rowland.
Now the Cardinals are simply playing the percentages right here, despite the fact that Brandon had a big game yesterday, drove in 3 runs, including a home run. He's right-handed, facing a very tough right-handed pitcher in Chris Carpenter. And quite frankly, against Carpenter in his career, he has really struggled.
Good numbers in these situations throughout this 2011 year for Phillips, who's off to the best start of any season in his career. Up and in, ball 1. I mean, you've got a chance right here and right now to just throw a dagger right through the Cardinals with a base hit right here and right now.
At the very least, how about a ball into the outfield to score 1 more run?
Pulled off that ball a little bit, drops it foul off to the first base side out of play.
Well, he pulled off that ball because the first pitch was a nice little 2-seam fastball that came right in on his hands and pushed him off the play a little bit.
Phillips. High fly ball, more than deep enough to bring in a run, and a lot more than that. Is this the dagger? 2-run double, Brandon Phillips.
Brandon hits his ball going the other way, and at first looks like it'll be nothing but a sacrifice fly, but it keeps going and going, and Lance Berkman has such a tough time running that ball down. Look at the reaction by Chris Carpenter turning around to Molina saying, what the heck is going on here? But he'll take a 2-run double right there. Brandon Phillips, a big day yesterday, another one today.
Boy, has he been money, and I mean money, against the St. Louis Cardinals so far this year. Knowing from day one that whenever the Reds went into St. Louis, he was going to get booed, and booed unmercifully. And now Dave Duncan will walk to the mound, and depending on how the rest of this one plays out, could this be a more emphatic statement for the Reds? Back-to-back wins in this series, and a chance, if they can close it out, to beat Chris Carpenter for the first time since 2006. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. The Reds lead by 4. So far, 9 hits so far, 6 runs. He certainly had very poor defense behind him in this game, Chris, but the bottom line is 6 runs for the Redlegs.
Yeah, this is a very unusual situation for Carpenter to give that many runs up to a Reds ball club, but maybe a signal of the changing of the guard. And a big-time turnaround for Brandon Phillips in the way he has hit against the Cardinals this year compared to years past.
And this ball scalded by Bruce, and the rout is on in Cincinnati.
Now he's looking for a breaking ball first pitch, and Trevor Miller complies and hangs one right there for him. And rips it down to right field line to clear the bases. 8-2.
Well, it's interesting to note that Brandon Phillips, and right now, of course, he's been batting in that cleanup spot for quite some time due to the injury to this man, Scott Rowland. He has been intentionally walked 3 times in the last 2 days. And all Phillips has done is knock in 4 runs. He has not missed a single chance in each of the 3 intentional walks to knock in a run. He had a sac fly RBI in the 7th. RBI single in the 5th yesterday, and now after the intentional walk in the 7th inning today, a 2-run double.
You know, some people think, Tom, that it's a bunch of baloney to say that when you intentionally walk a batter in front of you, that you just go up there with a little bit more aggressiveness, a little more intensity, more in focus than you normally would. I've always been a believer that hitters do that. I mean, there are certain hitters that you just don't want to wake up. And for years, Brandon Phillips struggled against the St. Louis Cardinals. In this series, he has not. And after those intentional walks, he has not made an out. I mean, he's come in here and gotten the job done. So, you know, whether it was a little extra motivation or not, I guess it's a matter of interpretation. I can tell you one thing. He doesn't like it when someone tries to show him up, and he's going to try to do the best he can to come through for his ball club.
Ground ball by Lewis to the shortstop. And that will do it, but how about the 7th inning? Dancing all over the Cardinals here today with an 8-2 lead. Reds fell behind 2-0. He led off the third inning. He has 3 home runs in the last 2 days, Chris, and all 3 have led off an inning.
Well, the first 2 pitches he saw yesterday, he had out of the ballpark. I mean, he jumped on the first piece of cheese he sees, and he's been fortunate enough to get some air under it. Well, we're going to see a pitcher we haven't seen since spring training on the mound for the Reds right now, and Jose Arredondo. Hard-throwing right-hander. If you saw our pregame show, Reds Live, you saw an interview with Dr. Tim Kremchek talking about the Tommy John surgery performed on Jose Arredondo, one of 4 players on this Reds team that they've done TJ surgery on. Fastball, low to mid-90s, good splitter. He looked impressive in spring training, but went on the disabled list at the end of spring to build up his arm strength, which wasn't nearly there, just given what he had done in the month of March.
Arredondo, only 27 years old, just turned 27 during spring training. He's pitching in the major leagues for the first time since 2009. He was originally an infielder, signed by the Angels in 2002, has only been pitching since 2004. I mean, he simply had a spectacular year in 2008 for the Angels. A 10-2 record in 52 games at a 1.6 ERA for Anaheim. And pitched in 43 games in 09 before he got hurt. The Reds knew when they signed him that he'd have to undergo the Tommy John surgery. But boy, this guy throws anything like he did in 2008 after missing all of 2010. This could turn out to be quite a find for the Reds bullpen. We'll see how it plays out. I would imagine, Chris, he is very nervous. In 2009 has got to seem like 10 years ago for Arredondo.
Well, I think the good thing, Tom, from his standpoint and the Reds, is the fact that he was able to compete in big league games in spring training. It'd be a lot different if they hadn't been able to get him into a game in spring training because he wasn't there yet, and then bring him up later in the year, having only done some minor league work.
Shallow pop up in left field. Giannis waving off Chris Heisey, and the 2 bump into one another. And they'll chuckle about it. 1 out. So now it's Albert Pujols, 0 for 3 in the game. Reached his last time in the 6th inning on an error. Here in this 3-game series, as Pujols will hit a fly ball at Jay Bruce, he will leave Cincinnati in the 3-game series with 3 singles, and one of the singles an infield hit. The Reds pitching in this series has absolutely dominated a Cardinal team which came in as the highest scoring team in the National League. I mean, Bronson Arroyo gave up the 4 runs. 3 of the 4 were earned in 6 innings. The bullpen the rest of the way allowed 1 run. Yesterday it was 3 unearned runs after the 2 errors in front of the John Jay home run against Johnny Cueto. And here today, the Cardinals, all they have to show on the board are back-to-back solo home runs in the 2nd inning. This Reds pitching is getting it together in a hurry. Starters ERA under 2 for nearly 2 full weeks worth of baseball now. And Chris, the question is, can you keep it rolling?
I don't see any reason why you can't, Tom. I think that you've got your young guys back, Bailey back, Cueto the way he threw yesterday. But I think the key is, and there's a major difference between these 2 ball clubs, is their defense. Every time there's a questionable ball hit, it seems like the Reds defense is able to make the play, and the Cardinals sidestep it and weren't able to make the play. And that means more batters to the plate, more scoring opportunities, and the Reds have taken advantage of it.
The other big difference in these two teams, and it is a substantial difference. You talk about defense, number one, and right now anyway, and it's not to say it'll play out this way the rest of the year. Another big difference, the bullpen. Right now, there is no contest between the two teams. Arredondo back in the major leagues, a 1-2-3 inning. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Reds lead big. In attendance receive a Reds military style cap courtesy of Fox Sports Ohio. Reds and the Dodgers. Pick up a ticket for that one or any game at Great American Ballpark. 381 Reds or visit Reds.com. Take a look at the National League Central Division standings going into play today. The Reds are 3 outs away from making it a game-and-a-half advantage over the Cardinals. And the Reds would improve again to 18-10 inside the division. Mitchell Boggs now takes over on the mound. It's the first time we've seen him in this series. Slow roller to short. 1 out. Well, they put up on a scoreboard during the Matt Holliday at bat in the top of the 8th inning that Aroldis Chapman is getting loose in the Reds bullpen. In a 6-run lead in the 9th inning, perfect time to bring him in.
It causes a lot of people to rush down there out to the Reds bullpen. They've got a little area where it's right over the pen to watch him warm up. And of course, those same people will be rushing back to their box seats when he comes and takes them out. Got to get him on the mound. You know, we talked between innings about that, Tom, and you know, you can do all the side work you want down there, but until you put an umpire behind the catcher and a batter in the batter's box, that the perspective of his strike zone, it's easy to throw strikes down to the bullpen when all you got is a catcher down there. But you put it in a game and something happens. And I think that's why you need to run him right on back out there as quickly as you can. Unfortunately, the Reds have scored enough runs in this ball game to give him a chance to get out there and relax and throw the ball over the plate.
Well, you know, this is a 3-game series, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-game series where the Reds sweep St. Louis. So, I mean, here over a 3-game set, maybe over a couple of weeks set, you know, you can win without Aroldis Chapman. And maybe for a full year, I don't know, Chris. But when you have the kind of talent that Aroldis Chapman has, and what a critically important weapon it would be for your team in winning over the long haul, and especially if you're lucky enough to get into the playoffs, they need Aroldis Chapman back.
Well, they didn't spend the kind of money that they did on Aroldis Chapman, in excess of $30 million, in order to you know, to use him as a mop-up man or to send him down and keep him in the minor leagues for the next 5 years. I mean, he's got a special talent, period. Nobody throws the ball as hard as Aroldis Chapman. Now you got to translate that into getting outs in the big leagues.
Chris Heisey puts a charge into one. You can make it a 9-2 lead. Well, the numbers Heisey's putting up in very, very limited playing time are scary.
He goes down to get that ball. This is the first home run we've seen Heisey hit a ball that was down and away like that. He's got such a quick bat, can get around on an inside fastball like nobody's business. You're right about that. I mean, it's a simple mathematical thing you do. You take what he's done as a number of at-bats and you extrapolate that out and say, how many home runs would he have if he played every day? Not always quite that easy.
No.
And unfortunately for Chris Heisey, he looks like the third man in a two-man platoon situation that may evolve into left field. Dusty Baker has, you know, indicated that he's going to try to mix and match in left field as best he can. Right now he's got Johnny Gomes and Fred Lewis. Lewis a lefty, Gomes a righty in there. And, you know, for the time being, Heisey is kind of on the outside looking in.
I mean, you take a look at Gomes, who has 113 at bats, and Johnny has 17 runs batted in. Heisey has 57 at bats and has driven in 15. Now, again, I've never been a believer in that. Well, if you play this guy that much, more times than not, those are the guys that they're not playing every day, and I'm not suggesting it's a case with Heisey. But a lot of times you start playing that projection game until you run that guy out there every day for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then those projections, they change dramatically. There'll be a 1-out walk to Stubbs. Well, you can log on to Reds.com today and begin to vote for your favorite Cincinnati Reds players and help send them to Arizona for this year's 2011 All-Star Game. You can vote up to 25 times. Vote early, vote often, and vote Reds. There are certainly a number of deserving candidates, none more than that guy right there. If there is one player, as we sit on May the 15th, who deserves to start at his position more than any player in the National League, it is Brandon Phillips. And there is no shred of doubt about it. Will be a double play that will end the inning. But the Reds get a home run by Heisey. So are we going to get a look at Aroldis Chapman here in the ninth? Reds 3 outs away from a 3-game sweep. Yelich getting the final out in that 7th inning before the Reds exploded for 4 runs to turn this into a laugher.
When the Reds get it done with an RBI this season, that means another $25 from Shakely for the Reds Community Fund. Shakely, it's done.
I'll come for the Reds Day for the more fun. Make it a home run weekend and visit the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. Book your trip at CincinnatiUSA.com. All right, Aroldis Chapman now, Chris. Virtually unhittable, was unscored upon for nearly a month this year before the Marlins knocked him around on the last homestand, and that began a stretch of terrible outings for this very talented young Cuban.
Well, he's talented, he's tall, he's gangly, and all that sometimes works against you as a pitcher, because it's just like having a golf swing or a bowling ball release. You've got to release it at exactly the same point every time. Now, when you're long and lean and gangly like Aroldis Chapman, the littlest mechanical flaw can throw you off completely, and that's what's happened with him. It's not major. Brian Price assured everybody who is listening that, you know, all he does is drop his arm angle a little bit. What they're trying to stress with Chapman is to stay tall on the rubber. Keep your arm up, stay tall, and, of course, the other thing for him is to relax a little bit, and that's probably the hardest thing of all. Because people look at him like a freak show. He's throwing 100 miles an hour, and it's natural for him to kind of peek over his shoulder and take a look at that radar gun reading as well. If the Reds had it their way, they'd turn it off while he was on the mound.
All right, now Lance Berkman to lead things off, and first pitch fastball is low and in, ball 1. Berkman, Molina, and Tyler Green in the St. Louis 9th inning.
Take a slow motion look at Aroldis Chapman's motion. Look how long his legs are, first of all. And he does a little double hitch right there. All that's okay. But when you come to the plate, as long as you try to stay as compact as possible, stay as smooth as you can. And that sounds awfully easy to say, but it's a whole lot of different trying to hear it and then actually put it into use.
Low, 3 balls and a strike. And there's a walk to Chapman as he walks Berkman to begin the inning. Chapman began this year with 12 scoreless appearances spanning 11 2/3 innings, but allowed runs in each of his last 3 outings. 1 inning pitched, has allowed 6 earned runs. In his last 2 outings has not retired a single batter. He walks Berkman to begin this outing. Strike 1. You can tell, though, already, even with a walk to Berkman, he is much closer to being around the plate than the last couple of outings we have seen from Chapman, where he's been all over the board.
Well, you know, after you get a little bit wild like Chapman was, that's the only thing that enters your mind, is throwing a strike, and that's when it becomes really hard to do. You know, your teammates are yelling at you, come on, throw the ball over. You know, your manager is thinking the same thing. You know, everybody in the stands is thinking the same thing, and you're the only guy out there that has to do it. Walked 3 batters his last time out, 2 the previous time, and 3 before that.
And now he's fallen behind Molina, 3-1.
So you add them up, and that's 8 walks in the last 1 inning of pitching.
Crowd trying to get behind Chapman. Well, he's walked the first 2 batters here in the 9th inning today. Well, you have a 7-run lead. It was a 7-run lead when they brought Chapman into the game down in Houston, and before you knew it, it was a 7-3 game. And the Astros were one batter away from bringing the tying run to the plate. And I'm sure Dusty Baker and Brian Price are already thinking about how long do we let this go before we call down to that bullpen, and apparently that answer has already been determined. This is a kind of thing that can really throw a wet towel over what should be a very celebratory series for the Reds. If all of a sudden you have played and dominated this Cardinal team after coming back to win Friday night, the way you've really taken it to them the last couple of days, and unless Chapman can get it together and you've got to take him into this, out of this game without finishing the inning, you just don't leave with quite the same feeling. With his 10 walks over his last 4 appearances. In the air, straight away center field, hit pretty well, but Stubbs will run it down. Runner will tag up and advance second to third, 1 out in the inning.
An out is an out.
Alan Craig will come up and pinch hit for John Jay, or I beg your pardon, it's going to be Gerald Laird, their backup catcher. You already see Laird smiling as he's getting into the box. He has always been known as one of the funniest players in all of Major League Baseball, no matter where it is he has played and what uniform he's put on. Very outgoing, funny guy, and people around him will tell you that when his baseball career is over, he could make a living as a comedian. One and one the count on Gerald Laird. Slider bounces up there. 2 balls and a strike. Runners on the corners, 1 away. And it's ball 3.
I'm not sure how long the leash that Dusty Baker will give Aroldis Chapman this afternoon. You know, Aroldis has kind of a complicated delivery anyway. But the one thing that you can try to get him to do is to keep his chin down when he starts his move to the plate, because a lot of times if the pitcher's chin goes up, you begin to arch your back a little bit, and that's when you really lose your direct flow towards the plate. And I see that happening a few times in his delivery.
Third walk out of the 4 batters that have come to the plate, and that's it for Chapman. No sign given yet by Dusty Baker. He's walked the bases loaded. And maybe Dusty hasn't officially made the decision yet. He has Nick Massett down there in the bullpen. It still is a 7-run lead. When the conversation lasts this long, he's probably going to stay with him. He is. I mean, look, Dusty Baker knows exactly what's going on. I mean, nobody knows his team better than Dusty Baker. He might not know Aroldis Chapman the way Dusty likes to get to know his players because of the communication gap, even though Dusty does speak fluent Spanish. You know, Chapman is quite a reserved young man and may not tell you everything going on in his life or in his mind or how he's doing. Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? All of those kinds of things. But Dusty knows if the Reds want to get to where they want to get, they have got to get Aroldis Chapman straight. Here's Alan Craig. Ball one.
Well, one of the problems, though, Tom, is that Dusty Baker has already said and said publicly and has been quoted in the paper saying sending Chapman to the minor leagues is not an option. But until you can get this young man throwing the ball over the plate, you're playing a game with one man short on your roster.
And, of course, you can always change your mind on that statement.
Yeah.
Because right now this is painful to watch.
How many games do you play where it presents the opportunity to bring in a pitcher where you really don't know if he's going to be able to throw the ball over the plate or not? The Reds are very fortunate today to have a 7-run lead in the 9th inning, and then you can run Chapman out there and maybe work his way through some problems.
Well, these problems have presented themselves in full force yet again. 3-0 the count on Craig. He'll make Chapman throw 2 strikes before he swings the bat, and he can't even throw him 1.
Well, that's not going to be. He's not going to get another chance because here comes Dusty up the steps.
Well, this is sad.
Well, you know, if you're going to keep him on this roster and let him work his problems out here at the major league, the only way he's going to be able to make any step forward is to throw live batting practice, where he's going to actually have a batter in the batter's box, a catcher behind him, and simulate games. You can't get it done just by throwing bullpens.
So Nick Masset once again to the rescue of Aroldis Chapman. The Reds lead the Cardinals 9-3, 1 out, bases loaded in the 9th. To a big celebration. Doesn't feel much like it now at that end of the dugout. The Reds are now 2 outs away from a 3-game sweep over the Cardinals that would give them a 1.5 lead in the Central Division. It would be the first sweep over the Cardinals since 2007. But after Aroldis Chapman faces 5 batters, walks 4 of them, things not quite as jovial. Nick Masset trying to come on and put this game to bed. He'll face Ryan Theriot. Bassett started this year much like he started last year, having a hard time getting anybody out. Last year, from May the 1st through the rest of the year, he was the best setup man in the league. And he's falling into a very similar pattern this year. Twice Bassett has allowed 4 earned runs or more in an appearance. In his 18 other games, his ERA is 1.25. 2-1 to count. 1.25. That's why oftentimes when you look at a reliever's ERA, it is one of the most misleading statistics because they have a hard time piling up the innings to bring the earned run average down. Off the end of the bat, this will be over the head. That carried further than everybody thought, certainly further than I thought. And that'll bring in 2 runs on a double by Terrio, and now all of a sudden things are getting a little bit hairy. Chris, that surprised me.
Well, it sounded pretty good, but maybe it did look like he got out of the end of the bat a little bit. Actually seeing it again, it is squared in the center of that sweet spot, and it goes right over the head of Drew Stubbs, who's playing rather shallow anyway on Ryan Terrio. And Terrio burns him for a double, brings a couple in, and Dusty Baker's wearing a path out to the mound.
Well, now you're going to bring in the closer, Francisco Cordero. I mean, you have got the big-time hitters coming up after Nick Punto bats.
Closing a save situation with the tying run in the on-deck circle.
That's exactly right. This has not been a pretty night. Reds still trying to put this thing away. Batters walk 4 of them. Nick Bassett comes in, allows a 2-run double. Cardinals have scored 3 times, and all of a sudden a laugher is no longer a laughing matter. And Chris, now you're bringing in your closer for a 3rd consecutive day in Francisco Cordero.
Oh, you're doing it because the game's on the line. You got 2 runners on base. They score, it makes it 9-7. The guy at the plate would make it 9-8, and in the on-deck circle is Albert Pujols.
After the Reds got the home run by Heisey in the 8th inning, that made it a 9-2 game. I mean, all this crowd that had hung around here today through rain the entire day, they're bouncing around, they're holding up the brooms, and now all of a sudden on this base hit into left field, it is a 9-7 game, and Albert Pujols is coming to the plate. Punto, a 2-run single. Make it a double.
Well, he just kind of sticks his bat out there, takes it the other way. It stays fair just inside the foul line there, and they have come up big. There's got to be some squirming going on down there in that Reds dugout.
This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. This Red bullpen, which has been so good, and it's really hard to kick everybody in front of the bus over what's happened in this inning. Pujols looks at a strike. We didn't think he'd come to bat again in this series. When he flied out to right 1 inning ago against Arredondo. And now here he is representing the tying run in the top of the 9th inning. Fouled out of play, and Cordero ahead at 0-2.
Pujols thinks he had a pitch right there that he could have handled and fouled it back.
Nothing in 2. And he's hit on the hand. Either the hand or the left wrist. Clearly no intent there by Cordero. The Reds are doing everything they can to hang on to what was a 7-run lead when this inning began.
Kind of unusual, really, for Francisco Cordero to come inside like that. Even ahead in the count. We haven't seen him do that all that too much. He didn't do that rarely at all. Last couple of years, he came inside there maybe just to try to buy the outside corner again on Albert. That ball just sailed right into Albert's left hand.
And clearly he is in a lot of pain. Well, he's going to stay in the game. That is without a doubt barking. We hope Pujols is going to be all right.
Yes, we do.
It's the last thing in the world you want to see. Now all of a sudden the Cardinals have a tying run at first base, and they have the go-ahead run coming to the plate. And the batter is Matt Holliday, the 9th man to bat in the inning. Strike 1. Chapman started the inning, walked Berkman, walked Molina, got an out, walked Laird, walked Craig to bring in a run. Out he went. Massett came in, allowed a 2-run double. Cordero allows a 2-run double. Now hits a batter, and it's 1-1 to Holliday. Double play ball here. There's one, and the Reds have
Albert Pujols hard into Brandon Phillips at second base, and an altered throw. We saw it the other day when Matt Holliday went in there to break up a double play, and the same thing for Albert right here. He has taken no prisoners at second base. I mean, he didn't start the slide until he was about a foot or two from the bag. And Brandon tried to get over him and just could not get that ball to first base on a fly, and Votto couldn't pick it.
Brandon will tell you, though, that's a play you got to make.
Well, you do.
I mean,
but he didn't.
This game should be over.
But it's not.
No, it is definitely not. I mean, Phillips had already gone back to throw the ball before Pujols had even reached it. All right. Here's Lance Berkman. And you do give the Cardinals a lot of credit, boy. The slide there by Pujols, we saw it from Holliday the other day, and down 9-2, they're not going to say, hey, forget it, we're done.
They never give up, I'm telling you.
On the outside corner, a strike.
It's a dangerous guy right here.
It's a tying run over there at first base in Matt Holliday. And Berkman, the Cardinal leader in home runs with 10 and 11, and RBIs with 34. Cordero ahead at 1-2. A huge out to go. A 5-run ninth inning for the Cardinals. 2 out, 1-2 to Berkman. And now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Two-run game, 2-2 pitch. Struck him out, and the Reds have swept the Cardinals in a 3-game series for the first time since 2007. Scary, scary, scary. I don't know who Cordero's pointing at over there, but he's yelling at somebody in that Cardinal dugout. It looks like Mitchell Boggs.
Yelling at the whole dugout.
I'm not sure what happened there. The bottom line is, despite a near miraculous comeback for the Cardinals, they're going to go limping out of town up until this 9th inning. They have been kicked around the last couple of days since the Reds rally on Friday night to win.
Well, they came into this series a game and a half up on the Reds, and they lead to go back to St. Louis. A game and a half behind the Reds. The turnaround big time. No love lost between these 2 ball clubs. Tell you what, a tough ball game right here, especially in the 9th inning. But this situation and this rivalry to be continued.
Well, you really wonder what happened there. Bottom line is, Reds win it 9-7.